I forgot to fill my water. Rookie mistake. Yeah. As you drink your water.
Just needed one quick for both of us.
Appreciate it. And we are live. Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock. It is Sunday, January 10th. I am going to do my best to get through this show with multiple pizzas in my stomach, but that shouldn't slow me down too much. I eat pizza regularly, including on this stream. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined for the first time in my life with Eric Lindquist. Eric, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to be here. I've been watching you guys forever, and now I end up as a part of the crew, and I'm getting my initiation here with all the news that just keeps rolling in. So I'm excited to get going. Break down a 5-game slate now.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's a great first show with you, and we'll handle the paddling after this. That happens off stream for HR purposes. Can't be doing that on the stream. Otherwise, I'll go to jail. So let's just put that past us. Big news for everybody starting it off right now. Just in case you have not been paying attention previous to the start of this show, the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat are no longer playing tonight. We are down a game on this slate. It was 6. It's now 5. Too many people got the Rona. So no Boston Celtics, no Miami Heat tonight. And now a very, very different slate because all of the value was on Boston. And now it is more so on San Antonio, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Did you have any thoughts on the Miami-Boston game before we dive in? What were you planning to do?
I was doing a lot of comps between the 7-man rotation that Philly ran yesterday. They had the 8 necessary active guys. And so it was a Dakota Mathias, a Tyrese Maxey kind of situation. And I was trying to comp some of what is Peyton Pritchard's minutes going to look like, Jeff Teague. And I think you were saying that you were a little bearish on Jeff Teague and would have been going the Peyton Pritchard spot. But you would have saw some of those rookies get some extra run. But then it was going to be Marcus Smart's wet dream. He was going to be so ready to go in that situation. It would have been the moment of his life. He was anticipating to get 44 minutes, chuck 30 shots. It would have been gross, actually.
He would have been Oklahoma State Marcus Smart all over again, where he was just
without the Texas Tech incident. Yeah,
that one was not ideal. Oh, what are you gonna do? We're gonna dive into this game by game because I fully expect us to have enough time now that we only have 5. So we've got 2 games that lock at 6 o'clock. I'm ready to kick it off if you are.
Let's do it.
All righty, we're starting it off. Oklahoma City Thunder, Brooklyn Nets. Last I looked, the Nets were 8.5-point favorites, 227 total. Just in case you want to look at those lines yourself, go ahead, check out Odds Shopper, oddshopper.awesemo.com. You can browse to those links straight from the homepage, get the spreads, the totals, player props, team props, whatever you're looking for. You can get all of that at Odds Shopper, including up-to-date lines, which I assume Jordan can flash on the screen at least once because Jordan wanted me to talk about Odds Shopper, and I did it because that's what I do. I'm the team player around here. I got to plug the stuff. And there's Chris Spags breaking off some money as well. I plug Odds Shopper because it's awesome. It is my first resource of the day. When I start building out everything that I'm going to do for the NBA slate, the first thing that I open is Odds Shopper because the first thing that I do in my model is load up the line. So I need the side, I need the total, and this is the easiest place to get it. So go to Odds Shopper, guys. Oklahoma City Thunder, Brooklyn Nets. Let's just start on the Brooklyn side, even though I would normally start on the Oklahoma City side. Kyrie Irving still not playing today. No idea why at this point. I still haven't seen any news. What does this do to you in terms of rostering Kevin Durant, who is now finally back? And do you expect Karis LeVert to be in the starting lineup today?
I actually don't expect Karis LeVert to be in the starting lineup. I think they still want to stagger a little bit, kind of bring him to be the jolt off the bench. I think it's probably a spot he feels more familiar with too. And so instead of having Kyrie in the starting lineup, I would expect Durant to be there. 9,200 on DraftKings is really, really hard to get away from. And then also the opportunity cost of it. We don't know what's going to happen with this LeBron news up top on FanDuel. So the small forward position is still a little bit in question on what I want to do there. But 9,900, he still is going to project higher than LeBron in this spot. So LeBron would be your straight up tournament pivot. There's no holes you can really poke in Durant when he's going to get all of this run.
No, he looks fantastic to me. Showed up really nicely in my sim. Pretty comparable, at least from a FanDuel perspective and DraftKings perspective in his ownership. So I don't have too much to read in there. As for other ownership coming to Brooklyn, Karis LeVert getting a little bit of love. I think that makes sense. And then that's kind of it. I mean, Karis LeVert is under 10% owned. Do I have the most recent update on DraftKings?
Think so. Yeah. He's still under there. Okay. I think it makes sense. I mean, you're seeing that price inflate, and we kind of knew across, like, when he was playing alongside Kyrie that we could still project some usage, but you got a big price discount there. Now you see that price tag on both sides is definitely starting to rise. And it's the unpredictability where people kind of want to know what it looks like alongside Kevin Durant. So until I think also him and Kyrie would have made a lot more sense. They could probably help each other's assist percentage a little more than him and KD, but we'll see how it kind of goes. But that's definitely a good tournament pivot, no question about it.
Do you think when is the next time we see Kyrie Irving on a basketball court?
I have no idea. He's a Looney Tune, and as good as he is at basketball, it's really, really hard to cheer for the guy at this point. I mean, he's just kind of self-inflicting a bunch of criticism and things. Calling himself an artist is maybe a step too far for me, but here we are. He's definitely opened up some value on this slate. So I guess all we got to worry about is today.
Did you find anything else that you're interested in from Brooklyn now that Kyrie is out?
Not really. Joe Harris, maybe somebody that could spike a 3-point upside, but he's 5,600 on DraftKings. So that's probably a no, especially on a slate now where there's going to be value that shows up. We already have it with San Antonio. We already have it with Minnesota. So I don't really think that there's a need to get too cute there. Maybe just depending on what that starting lineup ends up being, Taurean Prince, 3,900 over on DraftKings is a spot that you could possibly find something. I think I'm just a little bit over the Jeff Green experiment. I'm not having too much fun rostering him every day and seeing like 12 show up. So
yeah,
I'm going to pass.
Understandable. Yeah. Understandable. On the Oklahoma City side, at least from FanDuel perspective, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander picking up a ton of ownership, 7,600, playing a ton of minutes, dominating the ball. I think most of that makes sense, particularly now on a 5-gamer. As the slate's shrinking, those numbers are going to climb. Horford, Baisley, George Hill picking up a little bit of love on FanDuel as well. On DraftKings, though, we've got Shai at 20%, then Baisley, Horford, Dort, Hill, and Hamidou Diallo all between 11 and 15% owned. How are you handling the Oklahoma City Thunder in Kevin Durant's return while wearing a Brooklyn uniform?
Al Horford is kind of an interesting spot. He's projecting pretty well for me. You saw him get a little bit more usage in that last game. I think he spiked up to 27.6% usage rate, $5,500 over on DraftKings. He's a spot that I could see taking some tournament shots on at 5,500. I know Mike Muscala just got ruled in, but I'm not too concerned about that. He's not a sexy play, but I think he's in play for this slate on just a 5-gamer. You can find some different ways to go there. Shai is somebody that I'm always going to have interest in. We saw just how crazy he's got, double the assist rate that he did last season with Chris Paul and Dennis Schroeder out of town. So Shai always, even at 8K on DraftKings, we've seen back-to-back 50 spots. So somebody that is very, very easy as a plug and play and really no concerns either way. Over on FanDuel, are you still feeling pretty good about Shai over there now?
Yeah, I actually have him. I think that he should be slightly more owned than his current ownership. So that's a spot that I'm definitely going to be. Similar story for Al Horford. I have him slightly higher than the current ownership. So those are two guys that I'm going to have my eye on from a FanDuel perspective. I'll likely be a little bit lighter on Baisley and a little bit lighter on George Hill. Dort is just a guy. Also, I don't know when it happened, but touchdown Saints, Michael Thomas, that one will help.
Come on. Right off the bat?
I think it's their second possession.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I'm not mad about that.
Yeah, you got Allen Robinson running back too, I heard. So
I do. I'll tell you what I did have a lot of, though. Corey Davis, and he was terrible.
God, him and John Brown just sinking lineups left and right. Happy wild card weekend. Yeah.
Yeesh. Anyway, I talked too much about the NBA on the NFL show. Now I'm talking about the NFL on the NBA show.
It's natural.
Look, guys, you're just gonna get a bunch of it's Sunday. Sundays are different. Let's move it on to Denver. Denver Nuggets at the New York Knicks. Knicks 5.5-point dogs at home. Super low total on this one. From a Denver perspective, Jokic, Barton, Millsap getting a little bit of love on FanDuel. I'm not a huge fan of Denver given this total. On the DraftKings side, it's sort of the same story, although $7,500 Jamal Murray looks to be going a bit underrepresented. How do you feel about the Nuggets here in New York?
I think obviously if I can get up to 11K Jokic over on DraftKings, over on FanDuel, his tag is 11,500, which is just, whew, hello, how you doing?
Yeah,
so, but over on DraftKings, 11,000, I think it's really going to come down to some of this later news. Obviously, we have San Antonio that opened up a bunch of value, but all of that is sitting like the 4 or 5K range, which still makes it a little bit of a stretch to get up to 11K. But if you get THT or Kuzma, I guess, on FanDuel, if you get some of those guys to show up with this LeBron and AD news, I think I could stomach getting up to Jokic a lot more. Otherwise, Jamal Murray, 7,500. We haven't seen that hot shooting game yet. We haven't seen him like really go for it the way that he did. I mean, we just have such a track history of him spiking 3-point upsides like crazy in random spots. And so I don't know, is the Garden narrative still a thing? Can we, if there's no fans in attendance, can we still say, oh, he's in Madison Square Garden showing out? Can that be a thing?
I hadn't thought about it, but that must be a really weird experience to play there with it being empty, or Cameron Indoor, or like some of the more iconic spots, places with like really big home courts. It's got to be nuts in basketball.
Duke was getting beat up early in the season. And so I think there's got to be some, I mean, there's no real, like, we don't have any precedents for this. Like, I hate the word precedents, unprecedented. I hear that all the time, but like, we really don't know how big some of these home field advantages are in different sports, but you got to imagine that there's got to be something positive. I think RJ Barrett talked a little bit about how, before it was a lot of opposing crowds coming in there and kind of taking up a lot of the seats and cheering for him if it was Chicago or LA or some of the bigger followings. So it's probably a good thing for the Knicks in the long run.
I haven't been there in a while, and the only game that I ever saw in Madison Square Garden was a college game, which didn't go my way. But it was a great experience, and just like having the crowd be packed there was really, really fun. I can't imagine what it's like to just be an empty garden.
Yeah, it's different. Fun. Definitely different.
Well, speaking of the Garden, the New York Knicks have been they've been something else under Tibbs. Randall, RJ Barrett playing monster minutes. Randall projected for 30% ownership tonight on FanDuel at 9,400, a bit less so on DraftKings, but MPE and stuff, it makes that a little bit different on DK. Barrett picking up a little bit of love. Elfrid Payton around 10% owned. I kind of like the Knicks a little bit here. Not something that I was expecting. I mean, I think Randall is heavily owned, but it's viable and he should be owned. But I'm happy to get to Payton, to Barrett. Mitchell Robinson on FanDuel, 6,200, less than 10% ownership right now. It's a scary spot. Obviously, Nikola Jokic, pretty talented offensively, might be able to draw a foul or two on Mitchell Robinson. But you and I were just talking before this show started. Mitchell Robinson's foul rate, it's like middle of the pack for centers, which is a monstrous increase, or it's a huge improvement for him over the past 2 years of his life where he fouled everyone always. How are you handling the Knicks?
I'm handling it. I think it's different on both sites, mainly because Elf Payton is such an intriguing price tag. We've seen him be chalked repeatedly, but 5,500, as long as he can continue to get some of that run, that's a tough spot to get away from over there. On DraftKings, I guess I don't have as much interest. I think Mitchell Robinson probably leads it at 5,600, 9,500 Julius Randle against Denver. If he's going to be playing 42 minutes, we did say Taj Gibson is still not a thing yet, right? Like Taj Gibson hasn't arrived. So there's still that 42, 44 minute upside for things that if this game stays in check, which is always a question in 2021, Julius Randle's really, really enticing still, specifically over on DraftKings for me, because he can get those triple doubles and kind of pound up some extra stats here and there. 9,400 though, I guess is a little bit more advantageous too over on FanDuel. It's just kind of a middle of the road team, but now that Boston and Miami's gone, you're going to see some of that ownership flood out to other spots. And I think this might get a little bit overlooked. So you might be onto something.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to keep my eye on Mitchell Robinson. I assume that I'll be, well, I did just refresh my crunch. Did I get to him? I did. I got a pretty healthy amount of him. So I can handle that. Both he and Horford, my top two exposed centers.
Yeah, I love Horford.
Which usually means that Jokic will eat me alive.
On FanDuel, which one are you kind of rolling with more of? Is the question.
So before I tweaked anything, Horford was the most exposed center that I got, with Mitchell Robinson being second. We'll see where that actually ends up.
See, we're going to get along on this show. This is great.
I love it.
You agree with my takes. I like this.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Anything else in Nuggets Knicks?
I think that's about it. We got more pressing issues later on, so we'll keep on rolling.
Let's hit one of those pressing issues. The Los Angeles Lakers at the Houston Rockets. Lakers 3.5-point favorites, 223 total. And we're mostly just waiting on AD and LeBron. I'm assuming they both play. That's what I've been going forward with. So let's start there. How do you feel about AD and LeBron today?
It's
right.
Just deep exhale. It's kind of like bite your lip and just jam them in certain spots, because they always go low owned. I just can't do it sometimes. Jordan, I'm sorry. It's first show. I say some things I can't take back. So here we are. I'm trying to figure out a way to get off of Schroeder, because he's just not a fun play in any spot, but like he projects so well over on FanDuel, a little less so on DraftKings. I think every Laker is going to project out a little bit better on FanDuel. Anthony Davis, though, 9,700. That's a discount over on DraftKings. So hard to not like to like. That's just such a great tournament pivot compared to the Kevin Durant at the position.
Yeah, I have very little interest in the Lakers outside of LeBron and AD. Like Schroeder's fine, but if he's to me, he's like twice as owned as I want him to be on FanDuel. Really? So the $5,100 price tag. It looks great on the surface.
Yeah, I think I would want
obviously if AD or LeBron end up out, like he looks great.
Yeah, I think I would want Caldwell Pope to be out too, just to get maybe a little bit of that extra security in the minutes. A little bit. I mean, that's not going to help his usage by any means, but it's something that I think I would enjoy just to see that come through. But 5,100 is so advantageous on FanDuel that. But their shooting guard is so top heavy. It's tough. But now that we've got Marcus Smart out of the entire slate, that might be a spot people go to be able to get up to Jokic, to get up to Randall, to get up to some of these other spots.
So your preference was AD over LeBron on
AD over LeBron, purely price. If you were to see LeBron get in like 4 or 5% on, but that's just not going to happen. So I think with my builds that I'm looking at right now over on DraftKings, I kind of did a quick run before the show, and I'm getting about 16% AD and about 4% LeBron, but that's purely just because I think getting up to Jokic is more of a priority for me on DK, still at 11K. But I would really, really like to see LeBron get ruled out. It just hasn't happened. So I think that would make
I would be fine with it.
Better.
I think I'm going to be really light on LeBron, so him being ruled out would be a pretty easy like re-swap and move stuff around scenario once we get to that point. On the Houston side, for once, I'm not actually going to just jam in blindly Harden, Wall, and Wood, which feels pretty good. They all are like around 10% owned on FanDuel. I think they should be about like 11% owned. So just like a slight nod above instead of me just smashing these guys. On DK, I actually like all three of them, including John Wall at 7,600. What do you want to do with this new three-headed monster of Houston Rockets?
Christian Wood is out of his mind. We just saw a 34.4% usage rating in 26 minutes, got there in limited time. So again, another game where it's going to be competitive. And so, yeah, you can account for LA being a great defensive team, but like, it doesn't change the fact that if he gets 34 minutes of run at that usage, it's a fantastic spot. James Harden is somebody that I'm waiting for it. Like, it's hard to imagine, like he's going to go off at low ownership very, very soon at some point. He keeps having these middling 40-point fantasy outputs, and it's going to change at some point because it's James Harden. He's just going to decide to take over a game. I think LA is a spot where that could possibly happen. Going up against LeBron, going up against AD, he could just absolutely spike one. But John Wall has just been so good. He's been so fun to watch too. Just kind of the resurgence there. He's filling up the stat sheet in a multitude of ways. The way he did in Washington, he looks like the old John Wall right off the bat. So 7,600 makes for a good tournament pivot. He doesn't grade out that well, but I love it. And then over on FanDuel, 7,800, that's still very, very doable. Not a bad pay up option at that position.
It is nice to see him back. I didn't think that his career had any legs, and luckily it appears that it does.
Yeah.
So good for him all around. Anybody down the line for Houston that you're looking at? Is today a PJ Tucker day? Any Eric Gordon? Boogie seems wildly overpriced. I don't see much here.
I've had a weird ability to pick out PJ Tucker corner 3 games, especially back in the bubble. I don't know what it was specifically, but I don't think against the Lakers and on this slate again, where we're going to get to a game that is going to be chock full of chalk. We, for lack of a better term, I think we have some better places to go with our money than investing in Jayshawn Tate, investing in David Nwaba or Ben Mack. Like there's just nothing else down there. I think it's kind of top heavy. You're playing Wall, you're playing Harden, you're playing Wood, and kind of moving on.
That works for me. I have very little interest in Jayshawn Tate. That much I can tell you.
Yeah.
Guys, 2,000. Well, we'll go with 21 and we'll round this one up. 2,100 people in here, 170 likes. I haven't even asked yet. And then you guys are just doing the job for me. So I appreciate it. But now it's time for me to ask. Hit that thumbs up. Helps us out tremendously. Subscribe to the channel. Still trying to get to that 50K mark by the Super Bowl. And hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss any of our shows. We've got an NFL Live Before Lock show coming up after this. We're right back to our normal Monday endeavors tomorrow, kicking it off strategy show. The Slate Starter Pod will be up. I don't know what time that gets uploaded, but sometime in the middle of the night, I believe.
Late. Yeah.
There we go.
Be up.
There's plenty to check out there. We've got 2 more games to hit on, then we can start just riffing on the slate, taking some questions. The San Antonio Spurs are at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Spurs favorites in Minnesota, 230-ish total. And the big news coming out of San Antonio, DeMar DeRozan is out today. What is the biggest impact? Because we just found the chalk team, massive ownership going to the Spurs. Murray, Kelden Johnson, Aldridge, Lonnie Walker, Rudy Gay, Devin Vassell, Patty Mills, Jake Puddle, all north of 10% ownership. Some guys in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. DeJounte Murray north of 50 on FanDuel. How are you breaking down the San Antonio Spurs?
Well, I don't want to give away too many of the goods, but looking over at the Boom Bust tool, which is just phenomenal for us to be using for a slate like this, where I like to look at some of these top end plays and see just relative to their ownership, who is going underrepresented compared to their optimal percentage. And so you get that leverage score. DeJounte Murray is still underrepresented at 46.3% over on DraftKings. So he's showing up in the optimal 52% of the time. That's just a ridiculous number. 6,800 is a hefty price tag, but it's hugely discounted with no DeRozan, who's been just eating up all of the offense, all of the usage for since the beginning of the year there. You're losing a piece that, I mean, we haven't seen a game yet this year without DeRozan. So you got to just kind of insinuate a couple of these usage bumps, and DeJounte Murray is definitely at the top of the list. The other guy that I'm really interested in is Kelden Johnson, who at 6,500, we've seen him spike up a lot of upsides there. 6,500 over on DraftKings, going underrepresented as well. So get over to Awesemo and take a look at some of those boom bust probability scores, because that's the kind of stuff that really sets you up on a 5-game slate where there is this big value to see whether going up above the field makes a lot of sense. And I think in this case, it definitely does.
Kelden Johnson, I love. He is my number 1 ranked small forward on FanDuel. A little nervous about the ownership, so I'm not trying to go too far over the top, but to me, he grades out as the best possible option. There's just a couple other guys that I do have my eye on. I'm honestly a little surprised that Kevin Durant isn't picking up more ownership on FanDuel. Only 28% right now.
And the question is too, like, LeBron is your really only pivot up there. I mean, you have Jimmy Butler, who's now off the slate, who is at 8,100. So you're looking at a gap between Durant and RJ Barrett of $3,200. So paying up at small forward just to lock in raw points on a shorter slate makes a lot of sense. And so with the LeBron news, even if he were to be active, I find it very difficult. I don't know, maybe one third of the time that LeBron would outscore Kevin Durant in this spot, maybe with AD on the floor as well. It's something 50-50 split at least, and you're getting the $500 discount there, being able to afford a little bit more in some of these other spots. Yeah, Kevin Durant should be one of, if not the highest owned guy on this slate, and he's just not there yet.
I didn't expect that at all. I expected him to be significantly chalkier. I just realized that he didn't even rank as my top small forward. That's why it caught my eye when I said it. I was like, that feels pretty incorrect.
Feels hairy.
Yeah. I didn't see it coming. Is there anybody on San Antonio that you do not like, either just in general or because of the ownership?
It's tough. I saw Rudy Gay just played 17 minutes yesterday. Don't forget, this is the back-to-back. It's a home and home for Minnesota, so to speak, with these back-to-back games being played in the same location. Yeah. I think Rudy Gay sees significantly more run at 17 minutes. I don't think the ownership is going to be there at all. I think people like to see it, especially in the same matchup coming off of the same game. But it was an overtime game yesterday. Some of these guys got more run. I think that could make Rudy Gay a little sneaky over at 5,300 on DraftKings. I have some interest there. Right now, I'm getting significantly more than the field. So that might be one spot to kind of look at. Otherwise, I mean, just about everybody there. If you really want to play like leverage going against the game, having this thing blow out in 3 quarters, Devin Vassell is 3,100 on DraftKings, who can make some of those builds with Jokic. Yeah. Some of these top guys work a little bit. One thing that I've been trying to do a lot this year is leverage against a game that I think could get out of hand pretty quickly. I try not to factor too much into blowouts, but in certain lineup constructions, if you're punting a guy who's 3,100, he's not going to kill your lineup anyway. And there's a definite upside there against the entire game. So if you're fading Murray, fading Aldridge, fading Kelden Johnson, and trying to just hope that nobody gets up to their potential there, I feel like Devin Vassell's an easy plug and play.
I like that call. I'm anxious to see what they do with his minutes. He's a guy that I really liked coming into the draft. I did a mock draft for Awesemo. I had Devin Vassell going significantly higher than he ended up going. So as far as I'm concerned, the Spurs made out like bandits. 3,600 is a really easy price tag to get to on FanDuel that will allow you additional salary. If you're trying to pay up for someone like Nikola Jokic, or you're trying to pay up at shooting guard to get to James Harden, who isn't really being talked about, which those are the days that always sort of scare me. This is a 5-game slate with James Harden at 11-2. His price tag seems problematic. His usage rate is down massively. But all it takes is one of those days where James Harden shoots 22 free throws and all of a sudden he's got 85 fantasy points. Makes me uncomfortable, but if you want to unlock Harden, Devin Vassell is absolutely a way that you can do that. Oh, now we got to talk about Minnesota. Minnesota, by the way, news in case no one saw this before the show started. No Karl Anthony Towns. We're still waiting on Josh Okogie to find out if he is in or not. He is still questionable. He's been out for a while. So Malik Baisley picking up a ton of ownership. D'Angelo Russell in the mid-20s on FanDuel, in the teens on DraftKings. We're going to touch on my guy in a second. Anthony Edwards getting a little bit of love. Jarrett Culver getting a little bit of love. I just named a bunch of guys that are getting ownership. Talk to me about them first before we get on my guy.
Okay. Well, it's a beautiful spot regardless. As a run back, I mean, I think the Spurs all as a whole project a little bit better than Minnesota on that side of the ball, which makes a lot of sense. But oh man, I'm just having a tough time trying to figure out some of these small forward things. I mean, the Josh Okogie news, did he get ruled out? Is that what you said? Did he get ruled out yet?
No, to my knowledge, he's still questionable. Yeah.
Okay. So that kind of muddles up a lot of things. Jarrett Culver, 4K, Malik Baisley, 6,100 it's not my favorite spot to go to on this slate. And he's going to garner some ownership. I've seen him kind of pop in some spots, but yeah, I guess for me, it kind of becomes, and I'm not sure if this is the guy we're getting at, D'Angelo Russell. Is this? Mm-mm. No. Interesting. Ooh. So it's Nas Reed night.
No, 0 for 2 so far.
0 for 2. So Juancho Hernangomez.
0 for 3.
Oh my God. What is happening right now? Who are you playing? What's happening? Is this?
I have a little bit of interest in Ricky Rubio at 48.
Oh, dude, don't do this to me. Okay, so my dad's obsessed with Ricky Rubio. I'm from South Dakota originally, and so grew up going to Timberwolves games, and Ricky Rubio was like the guy. We loved watching him play. He just kind of has that flair. Going to Utah and then to Phoenix, he looked great in the bubble. I just haven't seen anything that makes me optimistic. The minutes haven't really been there yet, and for me, I want to see him get north. I mean, the 33-minute game last game came with overtime. So you're looking at 25 minutes of Ricky Rubio. What makes you so optimistic about him?
So I gave him 26 minutes. He did obviously get that extra time in OT.
Yeah.
So, but that's, 27 and a half from, was that yesterday? Yeah, yesterday.
Yep.
And then on the 7th, he also played 28 and a half minutes. Just double checking now to make sure that I'm not crazy and that he didn't pick up like stupid run. Played a little bit deeper into the 4th, but I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility for Ricky Rubio to be on the floor late. Mm-hmm. So I gave him 26 minutes, and just sort of where his price tag is landing on FanDuel, where I don't see a ton of point guard value.
Yeah, 4,800
other than
looks great on
Murray,
FanDuel. Yeah, I will say that. So 5,200, I wanted to balance it out and do a little bit more of the DraftKings looking at that at 5,200. But 4,800 makes a lot of sense there. He won a lot of night slate contests in Portland the other night. So, I mean, he definitely can still spike some of that upside. My biggest issue is that there's just so many guys between Baisley and Russell. It's just so hard for him to have the ball in his hands, to be able to create, to be able to do some of the things that he really excels at, to spike an upside. And so for me, that's the biggest concern, is that I love Russell so much in this spot as kind of like a contrarian pay up option to be able to run back if this game were to stay close and really shoot out, which I don't think there should be that much concern over that. I guess the Vassal play could work either way at 3,100, but 4,800 looks a lot better than I think the 5,200 over on DraftKings for sure.
And he's at 4% ownership. That was the big piece for me in a large field GPP.
Yeah, it's like ownership matters or something.
We also have a lot of news to talk about right now. Are you ready?
Oh, God. Here we go.
Kevin Knox is available to play.
Gross.
But anyway, KCP and AD are both playing today, per Frank Vogel. Okay. We got one more. Nets starting lineup. LeVert, Harris, Durant, Green, Allen.
Oh, God. Okay. So LeVert starting 0 for 1 there too. I'm trying to figure out. So Harris maybe is not the worst play in the entire world. Man, I'm just thinking about that setup a little bit. Jared Allen, interesting still ish. Whatever. It's still Kevin Durant. For me, it's Kevin Durant, maybe a splash of LeVert, but really kind of nothing else there that I'm super interested in. Do you like anybody coming off the bench there now?
Not really. I want to like Jared Allen, but if LeVert and Durant are both in that starting lineup, I think that kind of nerfs him a little bit. He's 7,400 on FanDuel now too. I don't think that's a direction that I can go.
What does that do for DeAndre Jordan, do you think? If there's 4,100
honestly, I'm surprised they don't start DeAndre Jordan over Jared Allen in the spot.
That's kind of what I was maybe thinking, but oh God. Yeah. Cause when you can run DeAndre Jordan as the front runner of the second unit, you got to do it, right? That's
definitely a core piece of any sort of bench mob.
Thanks, Nash. All right. Well,
oof.
Yeah, I think it's Durant or bust, for the most part for me. I think that maybe clears that up a little bit more. I guess for me, I liked Joe Harris coming off the bench the other night big time. I was very, very high on him there just because without Kyrie, without Durant, that was super easy. Shots had to go up from somewhere. And it was the Harris, LeVert, Allen night. And so here it feels Kevin Durant could just go out and just take over early and often.
We never really closed out Minnesota and San Antonio. Do you have any final thoughts on that game?
Not really. I think Naz Reid is somebody that could spike an upside there. Well, I'm sure he'll be starting. We talked a little bit before the show. Ed Davis was out of the rotation last game and, maybe plays 14, 16 minutes here, but otherwise Naz Reid, a 5K high fantasy point per minute guy. Even in 16 minutes, got up to 32.75 DraftKings points yesterday, just kind of went berserk. I think he's more comfortable in that role where he kind of comes in, plays the Harrell, the Montrezl Harrell kind of situation in LA when he was with the Clippers, and just kind of busts out for 15, 16 minutes and sits back down. But, you're going to get 24, 25, maybe upwards of 28 minutes there. So that might be a spot to take some interest and take some shots on too.
One final game to go as we take a lap through every individual game. We've still got 26 minutes to go until lock. The late night hammer at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. The Toronto Raptors at the Golden State Warriors. Warriors slight dogs, 233 total. This one's pretty much a tale of one group of guys on Toronto. That would be Van Vliet, Lowry, OG, and Siakam. They're the guys that always get ownership. Van Vliet, Lowry, OG, and Siakam, all from 15 to 25% owned on FanDuel. No surprises there. I'll end up with more OG and Anunoby than I would like I do pretty much every other night. And then on the DraftKings side, Chris Boucher also picking up a little bit of ownership. How are you handling Toronto in a really nice pace-up spot against the Warriors?
So 233 highest total on the slate. Something that feels like an actual hammer, like somebody's going to pop from this game big time. And I think Steph Curry is kind of your prime candidate. But on the Toronto side, you're looking at, did you see Chris Boucher's price tag on FanDuel? Are they trying to kill us? Like 7,200 Chris Boucher. Like for me, it's been like an auto play. I've been playing 5-10% of Boucher going over the field every single slate up until this point. Now 7,200. I find it difficult, unnecessary, and unfun. If Nick Nurse was smart, I take that back. Nick Nurse is very smart. I am not a basketball coach. I'm not an NBA coach. I'm not going to pretend to be, but every time I see Chris Boucher go out there offensively, he just looks like a juggernaut. So somebody that maybe take a couple of shots on DraftKings more so than FanDuel, but otherwise those main guys like Van Vliet, it's still, I'm trying to differentiate between Van Vliet and Lowry. They exist, and they're kind of like an amoeba right now, where kind of together, like you love when you see one of them sit out. Like Pascal made it super easy to jam everybody in. Having Lowry out the other night made life super, super easy. It is so difficult to pick who's going to pop in this spot. I think as kind of a tiebreaker, Lowry at 7,700 on FanDuel, having a little bit of the discount. The problem is that now you've got Van Vliet at 8,200, sitting a little bit higher. Who's going to be the better play? He's seeing more of the usage. But oh God, do you have any lean between those two specifically?
Nope.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Like what do you do to figure out where to go in this spot? It's difficult for me. So maybe play the ownership game and kind of flip flop the two. Oh shoot, error on my crunch. That's bad. But otherwise I'm trying to get a little bit of them, sprinkle them in here and there in some lineups where they fit. Otherwise, not really like a crazy priority for me on this slate.
Yeah, when I look at it, I have Van Vliet in the optimal 17.3% of the time. Kyle Lowry 15.8. So
gross.
If I gave one of them if I gave Kyle Lowry an additional half minute, they would be equals. So
it's the same thing. Yeah.
It's just impossible for me to separate them. They're guys that I just like to have like 10 to 15% of, and I'll just call it a day. Hopefully, I get the somebody right. Golden State, on the other hand, Curry, Draymond, Wiggins, who is questionable. Keep an eye there. Kelly Oubre, James Wiseman, all 10% or more owned. Only Curry topping out over 20 at 21%. On the DraftKings side, Kelly Oubre is the most owned Golden State Warrior. How are you managing Golden State against Toronto? I'm a little nervous about this spot for the Warriors.
Well, my worry is that Wiggins gets ruled in, and I have too much Curry, too much Oubre. I guess you can't really get to too much Curry at his current rates.
Yeah, you want Wiggins out, but you'll be fine.
You'll live either way. Yeah, I think he spiked a little bit of an upside recently with Wiggins in the lineup, but I would feel so much better firing both of them up, being over top of the field. I think I'll probably be over top of the field either way on Curry over on DraftKings. I feel the Oubre thing is just so hard to stomach at this point in time. I know that he's going to be garnering the most ownership. That completely makes sense, but I'm probably going to be light in either way that if he gets ruled in, he's probably going to see a huge ownership bump. If Wiggins gets ruled out, to make Oubre more enticing, which makes sense. But I think I still might be light there. It's just a play that he's shooting so bad. And I know that gets overplayed, but at a certain point, it's got to go in and you got to be able to see it at high ownership, and Wiggins getting ruled out and busting that ownership sky high. I think I would probably still be light on Oubre.
Okay. I'm not all that excited about 23% owned Kelly Oubre. That feels like the easiest place to get away from. I really like Draymond. He's 5,100 on FanDuel, 4,900 on DraftKings, and playing 30 minutes a game now. And he's a fantasy point per minute guy. And he looks like he's physically back to where he was previous to last year. Mm-hmm. He was He read the writing on the wall and was like, well, I'm healthy-ish, but cheeseburgers are awesome. Yeah. So he kind of took last year off.
So he had back-to-back. We've seen back-to-back 30-minute games. That's positive in the category. Also, 10 and 9% usage in his last 2 games. By default, that's going to go up, especially with Wiggins off the floor. So that's a great call in terms of somebody to find a little bit of a lower owned spike in an upside right there in that game specifically. And again, 233 total. You have to be interested in some of these pieces because somebody's going to pop. It's just so hard to figure out which ones. But Draymond projects well. He's only 4,900 on DraftKings, so that's a great call.
He's my second favorite power forward, and his ownership does not recognize that. So I'm quite a bit over the field on Draymond. And he's not even the guy that I'm like most over the field on at power forward. What up, LaMarcus Aldridge? That feels disgusting.
Yeah, but it makes sense.
Massive usage boost.
I guess one guy we kind of forgot to touch base on a little bit in that game is Jakob Poeltl. Like, is it Jakob Poeltl night? 3,600 DraftKings. FanDuel, I think the opportunity cost with Jokic, we talk about that a lot at the center position, where opportunity cost to some of these other guys who can spike more of the minutes, rebound upside. But he's going to get the run now in this spot. And for me, the thing that I like the most is no Drew Eubanks. There's nobody else to come in to eat up even those 5 to 8 minutes or whatever it would be of Eubanks. So I guess we didn't touch base on that, but somebody I also have a lot of interest on at DraftKings.
Yeah, on DK, he's 3,600. I think that's a spot where you can save a little bit of salary and pay down. On FanDuel, that's not a direction that I would want to go, just because I don't think that it's worth. There's enough center options today that paying down for Jake Puddle today, only $400 more than the minimum, but to give up on, the Chalk Horford, my thoughts on Mitchell Robinson, even just Jokic in general. If Jokic scores 50 something fantasy points, it's probably going to be impossible for Puddle to get there in those minutes, unless LaMarcus Aldridge ends up hurt or out, something along those lines.
Agreed.
We have just taken a lap through all 5 games, 2,300 people in here, 388 likes. You guys are fantastic. Run that number north of 500 so we can get there. 18 minutes to go until lock. Now, I believe, is the perfect opportunity for us to take some questions. But before we do that, I got to get this one out there. Today is the final day of our big promo. So you can use the promo code 2021, get 21 days of Awesemo Plus for $20. Yay. You get projections, ownership, lineup builder, boom, bust, all the good stuff. $21, 20 days. I think that I'm getting that right. It might be the inverse of that. I can never remember. There's definitely 20 of something and 21 of something, whether it's dollars and days or days and dollars. You guys get the drill. Or
you're so much better at the promo reads. You're crushing. You're doing great.
Nailing it. It comes so naturally to me.
Yeah.
If that's not your cup of tea, I've got a better one for you. You can get an Awesemo Plus yearly package. If you use the promo code HAPPY, HAPPY, you get 20% off. We don't normally do discounts on those packages. They're a pretty big outlay right out of the gate. You're paying off for the full year, but you get everything for a calendar year. If you do it today, we'll see you again on January 9th of 2022, which feels like a lifetime from now. Use either one of those promo codes because today's the last day you can do it. I will not be doing this read tomorrow on the strategy show or whatever I'm on live before lock. I don't know the schedule right now, but whatever I'm going to be on tomorrow, I won't be doing that read because those promos will be over and you guys are just going to have to pay the full freight. So take the discount now, guys. Do it. 2021. Happy. That's it. That's all I've got. Let's get some questions. YouTube chat, drop your questions in. Premium Slack, get your questions in. First question up, Morgan from Premium Slack. Is Vanderbilt going to get more run with no Cat? He got great run the other nights with no Cat. I think he's going to get run. I don't think that we could expect him to get more than like 16 to 18 minutes.
Agreed. Yeah, he's somebody that's a high fantasy point per minute guy. And so, it would be intriguing if you could see a spike in those minutes. But I've got him for 20 right now, 1.18 fantasy point per minute over on DraftKings. So somebody that you could take some shots on, but he's probably going to be a little bit more popular than you want in that spot, 4,100. Not for me.
Small forward eligibility on FanDuel if you really need to fill that spot, though.
Yeah.
I also have him at 20 minutes. I thought I had him at 18. That's why I said it the way that I did. It turns out I don't.
Minds think alike. Yeah. There we go.
Well, I tell you what, I don't have him at 42 or whatever the hell I ran my stuff on before. Before we started the show, I was looking at my data and I was like, why is Jared Vanderbilt at the top of everything? I accidentally gave him 12 more minutes than I was trying to give him. So I would have given him 32. I guess I had 20 in one spot and gave him another 12. That was not at all the recipe for success today. So that's fun. My question is Kevin Knox in or the Knicks? For the Knicks, I guess you're trying to say there. Yes, he is available to play. That probably doesn't matter to anyone at all other than Kevin Knox.
15 minutes of nothingness, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Any thoughts on Monty Morris or Patty Mills as pay down options on, well, I guess FanDuel. No, FanDuel GPP. There we go.
FanDuel. What are their tags over here?
You got it?
No, I'm looking here.
Patty Mills is 4,100. Monty Morris, 4,500. Okay.
Well, Monty Morris is somebody that in 22, 24 minutes continues to put up like low mid 20s. So sure. The problem is that you've got guys like Murray, guys like Curry, guys like Van Vliet, Wall, so many guys up at this top range. It's just not a position I'm necessarily looking on FanDuel specifically to pay down at. It's just so hard to find one of those guys to pop. And then you have 4,800 Rubio, which I didn't see his price was all the way down there. That makes a lot of sense to me too. I would prefer to have Murray or somebody else in that rotation. PJ Dozier is starting to pick up some of those minutes too. Gary Harris hasn't looked great, but he's still playing. And it's hard to get there for me. I just don't see, you need probably 30, 35 for him to really pay off for you. And that's a tough get. Patty Mills, possibly, just because he'll be getting a lot of that second usage run. He's somebody who can spike a 3-point upside at any given moment. We saw that the other night too, in that first quarter, first half against the Clippers. So sure, Patty Mills, if you were really looking to get down there and save $400 off of Monty Morris, that would make a lot more sense for me.
We had an ownership update 8 minutes ago, and I just wanted to make sure that I had all of my stuff updated. And oh boy, did that shift some deck chairs around. Interesting.
Oh boy.
That'll be fun to hash out over the next 13 minutes. I have my dummy lineups in, so we're fine. Favorite stud above 9,500 on FanDuel, cash or tournaments? I think mine's AD.
Ooh, I like that. Do I just eat the chalk and say Joker? Like, I think I'll eat the chalk and just say Joker.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
You're certainly not like crazy to go that direction. That's for sure.
No. And against the Knicks, I see Mitchell Robinson possibly. Yeah. Everybody's having issues with Joker right now, but I know that's a big tag, and 11.5 makes it, I think his ownership should be a little bit more suppressed going that direction, but yeah, I'll go Joker.
Okay. All right. Okay, so this was a good question for you. Favorite Spurs for DK cash. How many feel right?
We could just say them. Kelden, Murray, Aldridge. I think 3, maybe 4. I think there's a possibility 4,600 Lonnie Walker makes some sense if you needed that kind of a number in there. I would say 3, maybe 4 makes the most sense.
I agree. All righty, what else do we have here? Wow, I have a lot more Lonnie Walker than I thought I did on FanDuel.
Yeah, me too. That's why I said that. I was kind of surprised how much he was coming on this next run. So, good luck to me. Good Lord.
I'm trying to cut it back a little bit, and I can't even do that, which makes me feel like I don't want to go too far here.
Yeah, I think that I'm also surprised how much Pascal's trying to sneak into my lineup. So I'm gonna have to cap that just manually. This is not a feeling that I want in my
Eric.
Siakam.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, let's have a conversation about why you're getting so much Eric Pascal right now.
Yeah. Remember my one live before lock show? That was fun. Yeah. That was good times.
Van Vliet and Baisley or Jared Allen and Siakam in DK cash?
First one.
Yeah, agreed. Nuggets starters are normal. Favorite pivot off of Durant on DraftKings?
LeBron makes the easiest pivot. It's kind of in that same price range. You said to DraftKings, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think LeBron makes sense there, but there's really nobody else to like pivot to in that range. Like
Yeah.
it would have to be like an AD kind of called a little bit cheaper, like we're in that, or sorry, a little bit more expensive, 9,700. So, but you're just getting such a discount playing Durant in that spot. So just like for the most part, play Durant.
I would agree.
Yeah.
DraftKings GPP, Curry and Chioza, or LeBron and Devin Vassell.
Second one. I think for me, 3,100 Vassell is somebody that just fits so easily in the context of this slate with so many studs between Harden, Jokic, LeBron, AD. One of these guys is going for 60, 65 plus. We haven't really seen many slates. Like there's been a lot of slates where some of those guys have leveled off in the 50s, but they've been non-competitive games. And so I think today in like the Houston, LA game specifically, between AD, LeBron, and Harden, you find some upside in one of them that goes for 60, 65. Like I find it hard to believe that wouldn't happen today.
There's also zero chance that I'm taking Chris Chioza off the bench for the Nets today.
Yeah, zero.
In that scenario.
Yeah.
Nas or Boucher, DK Cash?
Nas for sure.
Yeah.
Not close.
Yeah, the price is just, well, the FanDuel price is the real problem.
It's not even necessarily just the price. It's just the uncertainty of Nick Nurse being like, hey, Chris Boucher, go out and have fun today. Hey, Chris Boucher, sit down for, majority of the game today. Like it's in DK Cash specifically, like that's just not a spot you want to invest in.
Who's the biggest fade on the Spurs?
Ooh, baby.
I don't like my answer because I have a lot.
Kelden Johnson, probably. If you had to say one, if you're like looking for the fade, Kelden Johnson, we haven't really seen a lot of shot volume. If you just go through the box scores, like, earlier on, I was seeing 12-10, 12-10. Like Aldridge back is such a huge piece to see shot volume. And so you need to spike a rebounding upside, assist upside to some extent. Like he's got to pick a couple of those up to be able to pay off even 6,500. So I have a lot of him, so I hate saying it, but Kelden Johnson makes the most sense.
We are on the exact same page. That's the guy that I have and that I'm rarely comfortable having, unfortunately. So Kelden Johnson it is. Yeah. Patty Mills or Lonnie Walker as a shooting guard on DraftKings?
Lonnie Walker, not close.
There we go. Let's see what else we have coming into Premium Slack. 8 minutes to go. If you don't have your lineups in yet, at least make sure you've got a dummy lineup in there that doesn't stink. Kelden Johnson or OG on FanDuel? That's a question that I am having a tough time with right now.
Well, look at it in the context of also we've had multiple games of OG going off, but I think a majority of them, like in the bubble specifically, I guess they were at full strength for a lot of the bubble games that he went off. Boston game 2 where he hit the game winner, that he looked awesome, or I think it was game 2. That was the back and forth.
Game 3, I think.
Game 3. Yeah, there you go. I'm trying to think, like at full strength, it's so much harder for a guy like that to pop, and you're getting so much value in that mid-range. I still like Kelden Johnson a lot. I know he's going to be more owned. So OG makes great sense as a tournament pivot, but I'm going to eat the chalk today. Not just because I'm on a live stream, but because I think it makes the most sense, and you can still, there's just so much opportunity for the Spurs against such a bad defensive team in Minnesota.
Oh, wow. So Kevin Durant is now like properly owned on draft or on FanDuel at small forward. So whatever that ownership update
did change. Yeah.
He's up to 30 now. So I'm right around the field and I don't feel as crazy. Okay. I'd rather get to AD at 10-2 at half of the ownership in a large field in that 100,000 person entry. Two guys that I consider to be like relatively equal in this case. Give me a little bit of AD. Let's see. Best pay down option on DraftKings. That's a good one.
Vassell makes a lot of sense for me. 3,100. I keep saying that one over and over again. Let me see somebody else that I can pick for you. I like Jakob Poeltl as well. 3,600. Okay. I have a group set up so that I'm not getting a ton of them together. I just think there's a rebounding upside that needs to be realized by one of the two to some extent. Vassell, 3,100 doesn't matter necessarily. Jakob Poeltl and Aldridge, I'm having a group set up between the two so as not to have them in as many lineups together. I'm just trying to cap that exposure together.
Now that makes a lot of sense. 6 minutes to go, 449 likes. So I'm putting in my last call. Hit the thumbs up. Let's run that number north of 500. I don't get to sleep at night, and they don't actually pay me unless we get to 500 likes. So if you guys are trying to take food out of my family's mouth, I guess don't hit that thumbs up. But otherwise, please hit that thumbs up. Oh, there's a good one. I know the answer is pretty obvious, but Aldridge or Baisley on FanDuel?
So the obvious answer is definitely Aldridge. There's just no way around it. Baisley's a guy I was really, really high on the other night, and he threw out an absolute dud. But 2 games ago in the New Orleans game, in 3 quarters, he put up 44 fantasy points and finished with like around 43 on DraftKings. He had like -1 in his final run for the last 9 minutes of that game. If you go to popcornmachine.net and take a look at that. So there's an upside there. His rebound percentage is up, but again, I'm higher on Horford today, and so I'm kind of like riding or dying in that situation, and it's hard for me to imagine playing those two in the same lineup.
Pick 6, Saints touchdown, I believe.
Stop it. Oh
yeah, that's what YouTube chat's saying.
Oh, it's hurtful. Love defense in fantasy sports. My favorite.
Miserable, man. Miserable. Shouldn't exist.
I just shouldn't exist. Browns everywhere. So that's unfun. Not
good. Let's see. 4 minutes to go. Guys, you didn't get over 500 likes. Slackers, 497. Hit that thumbs up. It's not helping me out at all. 3 more. 3 of you. Hit that thumbs up. Let's see what else we've got. Any James Wiseman love on DraftKings? Ooh, they called it incomplete. No touchdown.
Thank you, God.
I'm just sitting here chatting. No fake news.
I'm trying to get 150 lineups into DraftKings right now while hearing unfortunate news, while trying to give the people the goods, and that's hurtful. Yeah, fine. I don't know. The minutes got to get there for me eventually. Like, that's really the tough thing. There's so many cheap Spurs. You have to hope that a lot of them fail in order to play Wiseman with any comfort for a little bit more. So yeah. I'm not going to be going there, but I get it. Like, he's somebody like I believe in the talent. It's terrible analysis, but he could absolutely smash at some point, but not today, hopefully.
I asked for 3 more likes. We got 79 of them. So kudos to you guys. Much obliged here. Much obliged. Guys, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Get your lineups in. I'm just going to let you guys know. These are the guys that I have the most of on FanDuel today. DeJounte Murray, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Small forward's kind of wonky. So let's just say Kelden Johnson, Rudy Gay, OG, and Durant. Power forward, Aldridge, Draymond Green, AD. Center, Al Horford, Mitchell Robinson.
Sounds great to me.
I'm very scared about my lack of Nikola Jokic. I'm mildly scared about my lack of D'Angelo Russell, who I just kind of feel is going to stick it to me today.
Yeah, he definitely is somebody that, I mean, if you could just manually boost him by like 1 or 2, he should pop up in a couple for you. Shooting guard is so loaded. I would want to have a little bit if I could, but I'm not heartbroken if you're paying down for a couple of those other spots. Like Lonnie Walker makes a lot of sense there too. Like there's so many ways.
I don't have 0 D'Angelo Russell, but I have not as much as I'm happy with what I have, but he's the type of guy that makes me nervous. Mm-hmm. Let's see. What else do we have? We should be able to get one final question in. Mostly people just telling me a little bit about the fact that wasn't a touchdown, which is awesome. Drop Roses, who generally has absolute garbage takes in YouTube chat at a fully regular basis, said Jamal Murray being overlooked. And I think that is a true statement.
Wow. He's a changed man. There you go. Or woman. We do not know.
Yeah. I don't know how Drop Roses could have ever gotten a good take in there, but kudos.
It happens.
Let's see. That's probably it in terms of like interesting stuff. I expected us to get some sort of like really, really weird news during the show, and we just didn't get it, which was nice. I didn't really feel like re-prepping again at 5:30. I guess I'm so used to the normal live before lock time. Yeah. Who are you cheering for the most now on this main slate?
I'll pull in my exposure. So I've got a ton of DeJounte Murray, Kelden Johnson, Kevin Durant, Al Horford, and Devin Vassell. Those are my highest owned over on DraftKings. And then I actually bumped up with your Anthony Davis and getting the discount there. I've got 29% of him there too. And then kind of my sneaky guy of the entire day, I have 26% Rudy Gay. So that doesn't feel fantastic. That's I don't enjoy it, but 17 minutes last game. I'm hoping that coming off an overtime game, he gets a little boost in the run.
Not so sneaky to me. I've got more than that, but on FanDuel, small forward eligibility, 4,600 fits really, really easily. But I have 34% Rudy Gay, so I am right there with you. And nice. We are locked, so I couldn't do anything about it if I wanted to, although I don't remember what time that game starts. Maybe I could. No, I actually could, but I'm not going to anyway because we're locked and I like that exposure. So thank you guys very much for joining us. Please hit the like button on your way out if you want. Eric, anything to plug?
Yeah. If you want to check out the Slate Starter podcast, the NBA Slate Starter, I do that with Brent Pack every single night. He's over there in Michigan. I'm over here in California and LA. And we always meet up every night and we talk hoops and we talk the very first impressions we have of the slate going forward. So check that out sometime. It's on the Awesemo channel. Otherwise, I've got articles popping every single day. The NBA Slate Starter article. I read a lot of the prop reports for Odd Shopper. So yeah, stop on by sometime.
There you go, guys. Check out the Slate Starter pod and tune in 7:15 Eastern time, NFL Showdown live before lock. Emac and Kyle are going live for an hour to break down Browns and Steelers, and then we're back to normal starting tomorrow. NBA Strategy Show, Adam Kaufman, Nerd-Ass Greg breaking down Monday's NBA slate. Thank you, guys. Good luck tonight. Have a good rest of your Sunday. I'm out of here. We're out of here. That's it. I can't talk anymore. Too much pizza in my tummy.
We'll see you guys.